Today I want to talk to you about something that many people experience, but almost no one has the courage to expose. A struggle that happens in silence, when no one is watching. It is the battle against lust, a secret war that especially affects those who have a calling from God. Those who have an active spiritual life, who seek the presence of God, are often targets of more subtle and dangerous temptations. Lust does not come scandalously. It arrives stealthily. It comes in thoughts, in needs, in moments when you feel alone or weakened. And the enemy knows very well where to touch to make you stumble. What many people do not understand is that this struggle is not a sign of spiritual weakness. On the contrary, it is a sign that you carry something precious. The enemy does not waste attacks on those who are asleep. He targets those who have a mission, who are awake, who can impact lives. And that is why the chosen ones face so much warfare in this area. If you are in this struggle, do not blame yourself. You are not alone. You are not less spiritual for going through this. God knows your heart, knows your intentions, and wants to strengthen you. Today we will walk together through this topic and understand 7 reasons why the chosen ones fight secretly against lust, and I am sure it will bring liberation. But before continuing, I want to ask you something very important. If you feel that this message is for you, if it makes sense in your spirit, subscribe to the channel now. Here we address deep themes with truth, love, and God's guidance. And there is so much more coming your way. Shall we go together? Those chosen by God have a more sensitive spirit. They can perceive things that other people do not notice. They feel when the environment is heavy, when something is wrong in the air, when the heart is being pulled away from the presence of God. This is a gift. It is a sign that the Holy Spirit is working in you. But this sensitivity also brings responsibility. Because by feeling more, you also perceive more of the bad side of things. You notice when strange thoughts start to form, when misplaced feelings try to grow within you. And lust knows how to hide. It doesn't show up as a sin at first. It disguises itself. It seduces gradually. Lust does not attack directly right away. First it plants an idea, then it feeds a fantasy. It starts making space, occupying a place in the mind and in the heart. That is how it acts, slowly, silently, trying to appear harmless. And that's where many fall, not because they want to sin, but because they didn't realize how vulnerable they were. Those who are spiritually sensitive need to learn to be vigilant all the time. It is not about living in fear. It is about living with discernment. You need to recognize when the enemy is trying to use your sensitivity against you. And this can happen in moments of fatigue, loneliness, anxiety, or even in moments of victory. Yes, even when everything is going well, he can act. Many people think that falling into temptation is just a matter of lacking strength. But many times it is a matter of distraction, of not paying attention to the signs. Spiritual sensitivity is like an antenna. If you fine-tune that antenna well with God, it will warn you when danger is near. But if you leave it turned off, you won't notice the attack. God made you sensitive for a reason. It is not weakness. It is a gift. It is so you can feel His direction, hear His voice, understand what is behind things. But the enemy knows this too. And that is why he tries to use this sensitivity as a weapon against you. He tries to make you use this gift against yourself. But you were not called to fall. You were called to stand firm. And it is possible. But this requires practice. It requires prayer, fasting, reading the Word, and sincerity with God. When you understand that your spiritual sensitivity is a gift from God and start taking care of it, you strengthen yourself. Temptation loses power. Lust loses ground. So if today you feel that you have this sensitivity, but also feel that you are being heavily attacked. Understand, this is a sign of your value in the kingdom. The enemy does not expend energy on those who are stagnant. He attacks those who are moving toward purpose. Do not see yourself as weak. See yourself as someone who carries something powerful from God. The best way to protect this sensitivity is by drawing closer and closer to God. Intimacy with Him clarifies the mind, strengthens the spirit, and closes the doors that the enemy tries to use. Lust may even try to infiltrate, but when you are filled with the presence of God, there is no room for it to grow. And that changes everything. The walk of the chosen ones is often marked by moments of loneliness. Those who decide to truly walk with God often need to distance themselves from certain friendships, environments, and habits. This is part of the process. God separates to sanctify. But in this separation, the heart may begin to feel a kind of emptiness. And this emptiness, if not filled by the presence of God, becomes a breach. Constant isolation can weaken even the strongest. It is not the external silence that hurts, but the silence of the soul. When there is no one to talk to, when the heart is full but finds no relief, temptation appears as comfort. And that is where lust tries to present itself as something good, as relief, as an escape. Many times, the person on this journey feels that they cannot count on anyone. Sometimes it's out of fear of being judged. Other times, it's because they really cannot find someone trustworthy, and so they keep everything inside. They remain silent. But this silence weighs heavily, and amidst this weight, the mind begins to seek ways to relieve the pain, the tension, the need. It is at this point that lust takes advantage. It does not come as a sin. It arrives as consolation, as something that promises quick relief, a temporary distraction. But after it passes, all that remains is more pain, more guilt, more weight. Because the relief it offers is false. It does not heal. It only masks the wound, and then it charges a high price for it. The Bible shows that even the men and women of God went through such moments. Elijah, after great victories, isolated himself and wished to die. Jesus, in the desert, was also alone. And it was precisely there that the devil appeared. The enemy knows that isolation weakens. He attacks when he sees that the person is far from everything and everyone. Loneliness may be part of the process, but it should never become a way of life. God did not create us to walk alone. He made us a body. One needs the other. When you distance yourself from everything for too long, even hearing the voice of God becomes more difficult. And when that voice is silent, other voices try to fill the space. Many chosen ones fall not because they want sin, but because they are exhausted. They are emotionally overloaded. They keep so much inside that when temptation comes, it seems to be the only way out. But there is a better way out. There is real comfort in the presence of God. There is strength in sharing, in confessing, in praying together, in walking side by side. Seeking support is not a sign of weakness. It is wisdom. It is recognizing that you are human, that you feel, that you cry, that you need help. The walk with God is personal, but it does not have to be lonely. God always raises up the right people at the right time. And when there is communion, the struggle becomes lighter. Isolation may even seem spiritual, but when it is constant, it becomes a trap. Those who carry a calling from God often realize early on that their life is not like others. There is a different weight, a greater sense of responsibility. It is not about pride, but about awareness. When God chooses someone to touch lives, that person begins to be observed by forces that want to prevent that from happening. The spiritual world recognizes authority. The enemy knows when a person has the power to transform environments, uplift others, and break chains. That is why he prepares specific attacks. He studies the weak point, the right moment, and launches temptation in a calculated way. And one of the most common weapons is lust. It does not shout, but corrodes from within. This struggle does not arise by chance. It is because there is something in you that threatens the darkness. The enemy is not concerned with those who are stagnant, but he rises against those who are growing. Lust appears as a distraction, as a way to break your spiritual concentration, as a strategy to take the focus away from your purpose. When the mind is trapped by desire, the spirit loses sensitivity, and the purpose becomes distant. The person continues talking about God, continues serving, but inside, they are disconnected. This is how the enemy works. He does not want to take you off the field. He wants to keep you on the field, but without strength, without direction, without life. Many fall not because of a lack of faith, but because they do not understand that this war is spiritual. They think it is just a common struggle of the flesh. But it is more than that. It is a targeted attack. It is an attempt to stifle your voice, to discredit your life, to make you feel unworthy, and thereby give up the calling. God does not hide that the path is narrow, but he also does not leave his own alone. There is escape. There is strengthening. But first, it is necessary to open your eyes and understand that this struggle is not common. It has a target, it has intention, and there is a purpose behind it, to prevent you from fulfilling what you are called to do. The temptation, in this case, is not just about pleasure. It is a plan to delay your walk. It comes to put you in cycles of guilt, to distract you from your mission, to consume energy that should be invested in the kingdom. When this happens, you feel like you're always fighting, but not advancing. This wears you out, discourages you, and paralyzes you. But when there is understanding, there is also preparation. What God has placed in you is greater than any trap, and this awareness needs to be alive every day. Knowing who you are, what you carry, and where you are going makes all the difference. The war is intense, yes, but victory is certain for those who remain steadfast. Those who understand the origin of the struggle begin to react differently. Not with fear, but with maturity. Not with guilt, but with positioning. You are not alone. And this battle, no matter how difficult it may seem, can be won with faith, perseverance, and true communion with God. There is a purpose behind the war, and there is also a greater power that sustains those who have been called. A lot of what we face today has its roots in what we lived in the past. Wounds that were not treated, words that marked us, abandonments that left the heart in pieces. Time passes, but the pain, when ignored, remains alive. And the enemy knows exactly where these scars are. He touches them to weaken us. Rejection is one of the most common pains. It may have started in childhood, within the family, in a relationship. It may have come from people you loved, and even after years, it continues to influence your feelings and decisions. When the soul feels rejected, it seeks acceptance in the wrong places. And lust appears as a shortcut to this false acceptance. A person gets involved in fantasies, vices, or purposeless relationships, not because they are bad, but because they want to fill a void, an emotional hole that was never healed. The old pain screams in silence, and the momentary pleasure seems for an instant to bring peace. But then all that remains is more pain, more weight, and more distance from the presence of God. Lust takes advantage of this. It presents itself as a quick remedy. It promises relief, but delivers imprisonment. The cycle repeats. The person gives in, feels bad, promises not to fall again, but returns when the pain reappears. This does not happen due to weakness, but due to a lack of healing. The wounded soul becomes vulnerable ground. Those who are chosen often carry deep scars. God called them even when wounded because He sees beyond the pain. But the calling does not negate the process of restoration. It is necessary to stop, look within, and allow God to heal the forgotten areas. Only then does the heart strengthen and the breaches close. Denying the pain does not resolve it. Pretending that everything is fine only postpones the process. The path to healing begins with truth. It is necessary to acknowledge what still hurts, what still bothers, what still binds. God does not distance Himself from the wounds. He draws near to them. But He only heals when we allow it. His touch is gentle, but profound. Shame is also part of this cycle. The person blames themselves for falling. They judge themselves, hide and distance themselves from God and their brethren. But this guilt does not come from heaven. God corrects, but does not accuse. He calls us near even when we err. He wants to restore, not condemn. But for this, it is necessary to accept the process of inner healing. God is not in a hurry, but He also does not want to see you stuck in this cycle. The old wounds do not need to dictate your future. What you have lived does not need to govern your choices anymore. Healing is real, and it is available. But it requires surrender. It requires sincerity, time with God, and often the help of mature people in faith. The Holy Spirit knows every detail of your story. He knows what no one else knows, and yet He chose you. Not because you are perfect, but because He wants to turn your pain into a testimony. The enemy tries to use your wounds against you, but God wants to use those same areas to show His glory. Deliverance starts with healing. Many people think that those with spiritual gifts are immune to temptation. But that is not true. The gifts are gifts from God, but they do not replace our daily effort to walk in holiness. The same man who preaches, prays, sings, or prophesies also feels, is tempted, and needs to be watchful. The gift comes from above, but the flesh remains human, and the flesh wants comfort, pleasure, and ease. It does not submit willingly. It takes discipline to put it in its place. That is why the Bible talks so much about denying oneself, carrying the cross, and resisting sin. Those with gifts need to remember that they are still human. Many chosen ones fall because they confuse presence with strength. They feel God acting, see spiritual fruits, and think that is enough to win any battle. But it is not. The gift operates even when the soul is wounded. God uses imperfect vessels. And therein lies the danger. Thinking that being used is a sign that everything is fine inside. Without constant prayer, the spirit weakens. Without fasting, the flesh dominates. Without reading the Word, the mind becomes contaminated with worldly thoughts. Having good intentions is not enough. Wanting to do what is right does not sustain anyone for long. It is necessary to have a solid foundation, a spiritual structure that can bear the weight of the journey. Lust does not respect ministry, does not respect position, does not respect title. It takes advantage of moments of neglect. And even those with wonderful gifts can fall if they are not grounded on the rock. History is full of men and women used by God who stumbled because they neglected their personal life with Him. The secret is not in being strong, but in being consistent. It is better to be an ordinary servant with a disciplined life than someone very talented and careless with their soul. God does not seek performance. He seeks relationship. He wants intimacy with Him to be greater than any gift we receive. The gift is a present, but holiness is a choice. And this choice needs to be made every day, denying impulses, watching the eyes, protecting the heart. This is what strengthens the spirit. It is not easy, but it is possible. With effort, dependence on God, and humility, the flesh will submit to the Spirit, and victory will come. One of the greatest traps in the lives of the chosen ones is silence. Not the silence of those who meditate or seek God, but that heavy silence, full of shame and fear. It is the silence of someone who is struggling inside but does not have the courage to speak. Someone who is tired but continues to smile on the outside so no one will notice. The enemy knows that while the struggle remains hidden, it has more power. He feeds the idea that telling the truth is dangerous. He makes the person think that if they open their heart, they will be judged, rejected, or seen as weak. And so many continue to fight battles alone, without support, without combined prayer, without restoration. Shame is a silent but powerful weapon. It paralyzes. It puts a mask on the face and hides the real pain. Those living in this prison often want to change, but feel unworthy of asking for help. And the enemy takes advantage of this feeling to keep the person trapped in cycles of guilt and failure. But God is not scandalized by the struggle. He knows every thought, every fall, every attempt to get up. He does not turn away when you stumble. On the contrary, He draws near. He wants to heal, restore, and cleanse. But for this to happen, it is necessary to break the silence. Deliverance begins when there is truth in the heart. Speaking to God sincerely, asking for help from mature people in faith, allowing yourself to be cared for. All of this breaks the power of the enemy. The light exposes what darkness wants to hide. And where there is light, there is deliverance. You do not have to carry this burden alone. Shame does not come from God. What comes from Him is grace and restoration. Do not let the fear of being judged prevent you from being healed. God already knows your struggle, and yet He chose to love you. He wants to see you free. The truth sets you free. Confession heals, and the right support strengthens. Silence may weigh heavy, but the decision to seek help can be the beginning of your new story. If you have made it this far, it is because this message has resonated in your heart. Perhaps you are living this war within. Perhaps you are tired, trying to hide, pretending that everything is fine. But God knows you. He has seen your struggle, heard your thoughts, and brought you to this word because He wants to restore, not condemn. Being chosen does not mean being perfect. It means being called by God. Even with flaws, even with scars. Lust may have been a difficult area in your life, but it does not define who you are. What defines you is the grace of God and your willingness to rise up, to seek, to fight again, with Him by your side. The good news is that there is still time. There is still a chance. There is still strength within you. God has not given up. He is calling you to a lighter, firmer life, filled with His presence. You do not have to remain trapped in this cycle. There is a new path before you, and every step toward the truth will set you free. If this word has spoken to you in any way, comment below something that is on your heart. It can be a simple sentence, a verse, a prayer request, or even, "I understood the message." Your response is a step of faith, and perhaps it will also encourage someone else who is going through the same things you are. God bless you, and never forget, the chosen one who falls can also rise and move forward even stronger in purpose.